Stop the best of three propaganda now. I'm sick and tired of seeing this narrative that best of threes are a better format than best of ones. And sure, you can make a couple arguments for it, but at the end of the day, best of one, best of three, neither format directly by itself determines how successful the region is or impacts its viewership. In reality, you can have successful viewership with both best of one and best of threes. And I think you can see that with the best of threes in the LCK being as successful as they are. Every time T1 plays, there's hundreds of thousands of people watching, and you can see the success of a BO1 format with the success that the LCS once had, as long as the recent success of the LEC with Lost Rotones. So if the success of a region's viewership and how many people are following it doesn't depend on a BO1 or BO3 format, why do I still prefer the best of one format? Well, first of all, I'm a person that likes variety, so when I taste too much of the same thing, it just bores me extremely fast. And with the best of one format, I get to see a much bigger variety of teams and people playing. And not only do I get to see my favorite team play, I get to see them play multiple times a week, and not just against one team, but even two or three. So it's not only just a one and done best of three once a week. And that one and done best of three might not even be worth watching. Because imagine you have something like, I don't know, G2 versus DSG in a once a week best of three game. And that's the only time I'll be able to see them play. That's horrible. I'd rather see G2 play teams that are actually closer to their skill level, and I'd rather watch DSG play teams that are closer to their skill level as well. Because a best of three with a terrible matchup is so boring to watch. Nobody likes to see a stomp. And if that's the only game they'll be playing for the week, then you're basically waiting 2 to 3 weeks for a best of three matchup that will actually grab your interest. Another thing I like about the best of one format is how much easier it is to follow. I know for a fact that every Saturday and Sunday, the team that I want to watch, that I want to cheer for, that I want to see play, will definitely be playing on those days. While in a best of three format, the schedule becomes weirdly complicated and I'm not sure when the teams I want to watch play. Does my team play on a Monday, on a Saturday? I need to do that much work just to keep up with the team I want to watch. Just make it simple, make it easy to follow, and make the team that I want to watch play on the days I expect them to. Another reason I like to watch best of one formats is because a lucky win where the lower seeded team plays against a higher seeded team and wins the match, an upset win if you will, is more likely to happen and more interesting to watch. Because since it's a best of one format, each win matters that much more. And if each win matters that much more, I'll be more engaged in a best of one where each game does count, rather than a best of three game where the first or second match might not matter at all. Because in the best of three, the stakes are much lower and you can get away with a lot more mistakes. You're allowed to lose an entire game and still win the series. The most interesting part of a best of three series is when both teams are 1-1. You need one more win to win the match and series. It's do or die and the stakes are high as hell. You get that exact same excitement in a best of one format without needing to watch the first 1 or 2 games. Both teams that need to be fully prepared, fully locked in right from the get-go. There's no room for mistakes in the draft, and you better be warmed up. And that's a problem I find myself in when I watch some of the best of three series. It's a regular season best of three series. The teams are obviously going to be trying something out. And honestly, you'd be stupid not to. If you aren't taking the opportunity to learn and test things in the first game or second game in a best of three series, especially if it's just a regular season game, then you're just not practicing right. But since I feel like these teams do have this leeway now, it feels like each game that they play matters that much less. It just feels like I'm watching two teams practice against each other that don't care about the outcome of the match, since they're using the first few matches to test things out. Whereas in a best of one, I know that both teams right from the get-go are going to be trying to do their best to win the match. Because every game matters, every win counts, because if you don't get 1 or 2 wins, that might make the difference between you making playoffs or you being eliminated from the tournament. Okay, hopefully I've given you guys some sort of perspective on why I'm not that big of a fan of best of threes. I'm going to take this time now to respond to some narratives online that I've been seeing going around regarding why best of threes is better than best of one. The first one is saying that there's no variety in the champions that people play in a best of one series. Well, I'd argue that there's barely any variety that people play in a best of 3 series either. People always say that they're sick of seeing Azir or Rihanna picked every game. Well, I'm sick of it too. I'm sick of seeing Azir pick the first game, Ryze being picked the second game, Talia being picked the third game, Orianna being picked in the fourth game, and Aurora being picked in the fifth game. Does meta pick after meta pick after meta pick? Does this sound like variety to you? Sure, they're playing different champions, but I've seen them play these champions all before. Can they just gut this Azir champion so I never have to see them again? They make Cassante pick or ban for 3 or 4 years straight, and then nerf them to shreds. Why can't they just do the same for Azir? So I hope you guys get what I mean when I say that there won't be that much variety added, if at all, to a best of 3 series. It's always going to be boring seeing the same champions over and over again, and the only solution to that is to just change your mindset, honestly, and stop thinking about it too much. Because that's what I did, and I've been much happier. I don't think of it as, oh no, another Azir game being played. I think of it as, is Jojopian playing Azir this time? I don't think he's the best Azir I've ever seen, but let's see how he does on it compared to other mid laners in the LEC. Because the player's performance on each of the champions creates more variation and interest to me than the champion being picked itself. Because not everybody is talented and equipped with a skill set to play Azir, or any meta pick in general. You can see that especially with the top laners and support players. Not everybody can be as good as the Baus on Sion, and not everybody can be like Kyria and be the god of Nico, despite those two champions being the strongest in the role. Another argument that I've heard for BO3 is that it better prepares teams for a best of 3 or best of 5 series. And honestly, I agree with that. I mean, there's no reason not to, right? Obviously, if you practice a BO3 or BO5 series, you're going to have more repetitions on it and be better at it than teams or players that don't have the same reps. And that has caused a large criticism for Eastern teams like the LCS and LEC, because we can just never seem to show up on a best of 5 series at an international level. But unfortunately, trying to chase international success completely backfired on the LCS, and is one of the main reasons for the LCS decline, in my opinion. Just constantly importing players from the LPL, LCK, trying to win an international trophy, instead of finding ways to improve as a team outside of just importing players, has caused nearly irreversible damage to our region. Because if your only strategy to improve as a team is to import, instead of finding ways to get better at the game itself and working with the pieces that you do have, then you're creating this ceiling for yourself where the only thing you can do is to rely on imports. So the first team that can win a trophy without the need or use of an import, or at this point even minimal use of an import, will basically gain my respect. Another person also said that a best of 1 format is an inaccurate representation of a team's skill level. I think that's just incorrect. If you can't win a best of 1 game that actually matters, after weeks and weeks of scrims, weeks and weeks of draft prep, after all that practice, you can't win a single game of best of 1. I think that's a completely accurate representation of your skill level, and I really don't see how there's argument against that. And a best of 3 match that actually happens, where every game matters, will you say that it isn't an accurate representation of the team's skill level because it isn't a best of 5 series? I don't think so. Anyways, I know for a fact that a lot of you guys will disagree with what I'm saying. I'm sure a lot of you guys will have a lot of valid reasons as to why you guys would prefer watching a best of 3 series over a best of 1 series. But in the end, at the very least, we don't have that shit ass LCK format where the LCK team bro is able to go 0-5 and still make it to playoffs. That's right, they didn't win a single match and still made it to playoffs. Best of 1, best of 3, it's all preference. LEC and Lost Ratones got like 400,000 viewers with a best of 1 format. LCK did the exact same thing with T1 and a best of 3 format, but bro made it to playoffs while winning 0 games. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys on the next one.